Well, once again, you did watch some of Raw.
Yes. That's where I was just trying to get you, since it's your program, to tell the people what we're doing here today. And they're trying with this program. What this is, ladies and gentlemen, and I think we're going to be seeing it for a little while. This is the beginning of the new series from the WWE, Bad Gimmick Rehab, on the Home and Garden Network. Each episode, they're going to take one or two bad gimmicks that were put on these poor, unsuspecting, innocent wrestler victims, and they're going to rehab that gimmick and try to make people forget that it ever happened, because the only person behind it was poor Vince, who had lost his faculties and had apparently chewing gum and oatmeal where his brain matter used to reside. So we're gonna see a few revamps, but they're trying again right off the bat. We talk about in the past the show, just it's fucking 10 minutes before anything gets said or anything gets done. It just goes so slow, and it's 3 hours. So they go all the way in the other direction. As soon as the show comes up, no open, whatever, they're in the ring with Bobby Lashley calling out Brock Lesnar, "Get your ass out here, why I oughta." And they play Brock's music. Out he comes in street clothes. Now, again, you're going to hear this as a recurring theme in a few of these segments in this program. They're trying. So I'm not going to bring up that. Has it ever been just sanctioned, or should it ever be sanctioned that a guy can just call another guy? You just go out, take over the show, call another guy out. The guy comes out, they fight. There's no organization here. There's no administration. There's nobody running the program. The inmates just call out and make their own shit. Is this something that apparently the WWE audience just accepts now after they've seen it for so long, and they're not going to try to get back to logic or legitimacy, even when they're trying to rehab these bad gimmicks? Am I looking for too much detail here?
You're looking for detail that should be there. I think it's a lot to ask that they'll all of a sudden start doing things like that the right way, but who knows? Over time, maybe. But certainly right now, while things are not federated in the former federation, you see what happens.
So here comes Brock out, and Bobby rolls out, and they lock up in the aisleway there, and they have a big fight, and Lashley spears Brock through the barricade, and again, boy, that was impressive. And it's Brock Lesnar being speared all the way through a barricade by a fucking beast the size of Bobby Lashley that had Brock up off the ground. If I didn't see that same thing done every goddamn week on television, that would be the greatest thing I ever saw, because these two are the ones that need to be doing it. But now it's like, and it's always in the same place, funnily enough. I don't know how that coincidence happens, but it was great. Again, they're trying. But a lot of this stuff is what I'm saying. How many times have I said in the past, when you really need something, when interest is down, business is down, nobody's over, it's kind of lackluster, you got to do things to shock people and to get, oh, wow, did you see that? But the problem is, if you do it all the time and with the wrong people or middle card people or just people at random, then it's not the same thing when you see these two goddamn big top stars doing it. You're like, oh, yeah, they did that last week. Okay, but through the barricade, and then, again, they're trying, but instantly, 30 people arrive. Adam Pearce, security, guys out of the locker room, various producers and whatever. Okay, I'm always complaining that nobody comes out try to break this shit up. But then they do a deal where a guy stands in the ring all by himself and blatantly calls another guy out to fight. The other guy gets music played for him. and comes out there and they get in a fight, and there's nobody on the scene whatsoever until they go through the barricade, and then 30 of them are there at the same time. And then while they're trying to pull him apart, Lashley spears Brock over the desk and gives him a spine buster through the desk, which again looked great. Two big guys, a great fight, and chaos with all the people out there. They're trying. And he left Brock selling, which he almost had to do because of the fact that Brock pretty much punked him out the other day. So the action was great. The fact that they did it right off the bat on the show was great. They're being penalized by the fact that all this shit's been overdone to the point where they can't really physically do anything that people haven't seen anymore. So they just try to do it the same thing better or with bigger stars. And I'd work on dialing back the security to like 10 or 12 guys that come out in dribbles and drabs like they just realized what was going on, and maybe tighten up the goddamn presentation by having Lashley storm out and take over and the announcers talk about, oh my God, he can't do this, instead of, well, he said this, what he's going to do. So like it's something that's happening all at once and getting away from everybody, so they take a minute to react, and that's when everybody gets their damage done. But again, I'm being too, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more effective to have like 12 people run out all at once, like they're standing in the back singing doo-wop or something, waiting for things to happen. That's more realistic.
Well, I've tried to have that many guys show up in the same place at the same time and had meetings about it and still couldn't. And they would never get there. And suddenly they've got them. It was like they shot them they slid down a fireman's pole like a goddamn fire department.
They certainly are trying to establish a tone. On SmackDown, they began with that whole parking lot car accident thing with McIntyre and Cross, and now they begin hot with this. They're trying to really heat things up to get people, I guess, to pay attention to the new management of the company.
Well, yes, and I don't blame them, and they should. And, it's Triple H is hearkening back to the Attitude Era where you never knew where something was going to happen or not. Whether somebody's going to get in a fight or get in a car wreck or whatever. But the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, God, if only somebody had predicted this. The reason why it got over then is because people had never seen shit like that. Now they've been seeing it for 20 years. And they've been seeing it with talent that isn't as good as the talent they first saw it done with 20 years ago. So it has less impact. It will juice up the show, and it'll make it a little easier to watch for the people already there. But they've jaded a lot of these people, but like me, to the point where I can't. Every time I see more shit like the same shit we see every week, I roll my eyes.
Do you think that's the toughest thing mentally for a booker, to recognize when to dial it back or to dial it back?
Well, this is not even about a booker or one. Yes, occasionally in the territories, it was Dusty did it where, you need to take a breath here. And, that could happen. But who booked for 25 years? Nobody. They hit on the idea of doing every goddamn thing in the Attitude Era that had ever been done before and doing it all again, plus coming up with new shit and doing that too, with the best talent, best group of talent that had ever been assembled in both companies. And then as that talent matriculated to movies and old age, they've been doing the same kind of shit and coming up with even more special effects ridden shit to where we've seen people burned alive and run over with 18-wheelers and, buried alive and flung off roofs into rivers. See, they've killed every angle. And it's not even if people are going to believe that what used to draw money about an angle was the fact that the fans thought that someone had been wronged, injured, or screwed around. Well, they know that's not the case anymore because this is all a scripted, dramatic fucking presentation with elements of comedy. So now it basically has to be, well, was this angle visually impressive enough that it might get people to want to see the match because they don't believe anybody's really hurt or offended? And how much more visually impressive can you get than fucking burning a fucking motherfucker alive? So what else are they going to do to anybody? They're going to spear them through the barricade twice a fucking show. That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying for 20 fucking years. That sooner or later we would get to this point. What else you going to do to a motherfucker's human body to be visually impressive when they know that it's all bullshit and nobody was really harmed, hurt, screwed, cheated, robbed, or embarrassed? Except when they really do get hurt, trying to make people believe something they don't believe anyway. Go ahead.
One last question on this. Do you think this justifies the way Lashley got beat down last week?
I don't know if it justifies it. It explains it because in the mind of the people who want to do what they did last week, well, then next week, Lashley's going to come out and leave him laying. So that justifies it in their mind. And I still think that Lashley has been unfortunately diminished by not being in the hurt business with MVP to talk so that they didn't leave Bobby twisting, trying to be an orator, a raconteur. That's not his fucking line of work. I think it was great when they had a group of guys so Lashley could be the star and Cedric and Shelton could be the Usos.
Yeah, breaking up the hurt business has not worked out for anyone who was in the hurt business.
No, it's bad for business. But so I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know, but whether I would have flip-flopped these, because everybody expects, because he's the biggest star in the business, Brock Lesnar to beat up Bobby Lashley, but maybe people wouldn't have expected Bobby Lashley to beat up Brock Lesnar. So maybe Brock's shocking return, the shocking thing about it was he'd come out all smiles like we last saw him, and Lashley'd fucking sodomize him with a muffler off a fucking 56 Chevy. And then Brock comes back and gets even. Now he's still a babyface. You got Lashley as a fucking heel where he ought to be. Instead, now they love Brock, and he was the babyface, but now he's come back and switched heel, apparently, by just suckering and attacking Bobby Lashley for whatever fucking reason. Except the people cheered him because they still like him. And meanwhile, poor Bobby is a god. It looks like a Greek god, and he's stuck trying to act like an ice cream man. I don't fucking know. Can we move on?
Yeah, was that Raw? I guess there's more. How much more Raw is there?
About 2 hours and 55 minutes of Raw is still left to go. So after that, here comes AJ Styles and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the original club. Let it go. When I couldn't have the Midnight Express and Smoky Mountain Wrestling, I didn't call another team the Afternoon Express or the Morning Express or the Daily Bugle or whatever. I just changed the goddamn the Stop and Go Express. Come and Go. I just changed the fucking team name entirely. The club is over. And I'm not talking about overpopular. I'm talking about overdone with. Who gives a shit? What is to a modern WWE audience, what does the original club mean? They even say the OC, and they have on the Titantron, the only club that matters. What? What are the dues? Do you get a card? Do you have to wear a T-shirt? The whole club.
You have to be a part of you have to be a part of the most boring and lame wrestling faction ever, but it's in Japan.
Well, and that's the thing. They're trying to refer to something that got over it. And as AEW has proven to the WWE, I would think by this point, that a wrestling promotion cannot exist or subsist just on the amount of Japanese wrestling fans there are in the United States of America. And this was a bunch of different people in the Bullet Club that they don't have the trademark to. So they instead of doing their own fucking thing in the biggest promotion in the world that dwarfs New Japan by multiple times, they still want to be the original club and do Hall and Nash's fucking Wolfpack Too Sweet bullshit. Why do other people shit? Why talk about something that you were once a replacement part in? Not even an original part of the fucking thing. Do other people's hand signs from 25 years ago when they're doing biographies on A&E Network on the motherfuckers that you stole the fucking hand sign from. So are you a tribute act? Are you a cover band? I don't, why do other more famous people shit? Why call yourself, hamstring yourself with a fucking name, the original club that nobody in today's modern day and age that wasn't watching the Bullet Club 7 years ago or whenever the fuck it was understands a shit to begin with. And I said, well, when they bring in Gallows and Anderson, at least we won't have to look at fucking Otis and Gable. And guess who they wrestle? Gallows and Anderson wrestle Otis and Gable.
The OC versus the new club.
I'd like to take a club and beat them all over the head with it.
All of them?
All of them. Every single one of them. And then go back and hit the places I missed. So Gallows and Anderson win the match, and then here comes the Judgment Day. And I think they think that it's good television writing when they have one segment flow into another like that, but that means that you're seeing the same people involved in something out there for fucking 30 minutes at a time. So the Judgment Day come out, and they do the same thing I just did. They made fun of Too Sweet. Same old shit. We've seen it before. But then Finn Balor is taking credit for Was he in the original Bullet Club?
He was.
Okay.
He was the original leader of the Bullet Club.
Okay, that's right. He was the original one. And then somehow it was like the NWO in the dying days of WCW, and they let everybody, including Virgil, in. They let the Cucamonga Kids in, and they let everybody in, right?
What happened was all the prestigious leaders of the Bullet Club, one by one, got signed by American promotions like WWE or later AEW, so they would leave their group. They'd have to find a new leader, went from Finn to AJ to Omega, and then they started just filling the ranks with seemingly anyone who just wanted to mug for the camera and do someone else's hand signs.
Okay, well, anyway, he's mad because he started the thing, but now they've actually got a cool group, even though Finn doesn't belong in it. So they're in a cool group now, the Judgment Day. Priest does the best talking to represent these people. And it sounds like he has a man's voice. They made a challenge for a match at Crown Jewel. And again, because you don't want to have an evil authority figure doesn't mean that you shouldn't have somebody to make these fucking matches. And Adam Pearce was doing it for a while there, but now the guy's just, well, I want to fight you in Saudi Arabia. Okay. Can you imagine if Ali and Frazier put the fucking Thrilla in Manila on that fucking way? Oh, I'll fight you. Okay, Tuesday. We'll be there in Manila, the Philippines. There's contracts. There's promotion. There's all. If you're
Don King.
Don King, if you're trying in any way to make this look legitimate, God damn it. So now they all just make their own matches, and then Dominic and AJ go back and forth, and AJ challenges Dominic for tonight. And Rhea accepts for him, and we're 30 minutes into the show. And that's all we've seen besides that 3-minute fight at the top of the program is tag team match and talking.
I was already getting sick of the Judgment Day a little bit, even though I really like Priest and Rhea and Dominic together. They all got size. There's an age difference that's obvious. The whole Dominic's fucking Rhea thing is working.
Yeah.
He seems like a different guy, but if you want to make me really sick of them, put them with AJ and the fucking OC. That is a way to drive people to jump off their roof. Oh my God.
Well, speaking of jumping off the roof, I said we're half an hour into the show and we've just done a lot of talking. So here comes Seth Franklin Rollins. And he comes to the ring and does a lot more talking. And he goes for about 5 minutes, and then suddenly, here comes Mustafa Ali. Again, didn't they bring him out and do something with him for about 3 weeks, about 6 months ago? And I was saying the same thing. What the fuck? They think this guy's going to get over? And then he disappeared again?
Well, what happened was he had disappeared, and then he had asked for his release publicly. And a lot of people got behind him, and then they said no.
That's right.
And then he just returned. And for a few weeks, they used him like a putz. And then I don't remember seeing him for a little while. I don't know what he's been doing. Maybe he has been there, and I just haven't been watching. But now he's doing something with Franklin Rollins.
Well, so this is obviously more Triple H bad gimmick rehab because Vince probably brought him back to fucking beat the shit out of him because he asked for his release and then sent him back home again. But now he's coming back to beat some people up, apparently. Except, unfortunately, it's not working out for him. Mustafa Ali comes out. He looks like the popcorn guy picked up a microphone on the way from the concession stand and just said, hey, I wonder if anybody will notice if I get in the ring and just act like I'm a wrestler. And he is upset that because he was next in line or supposed to be for a championship opportunity. So apparently nobody's told him you can speak English on his program now again. So finally, Seth Rollins beats him up. Apparently it's this guy's gimmick. He comes out and mouths off about once or twice every 6 months and somebody kicks the shit out of him. So then we went to Sky and Kai. Or did we determine that the team was Kai and Sky? That's it, Kai and Sky. Sky and Kai works too. With Bayley against Bianca Belair and Candy LaRue. And Bayley did color while Kai and Sky wrestled. And I'm sorry, it's an hour into the program and we're seeing 3 anorexic 5-foot-tall indie girls and Bianca Belair. And I don't know why they put Bayley. Remember what I said? Bayley could be great dressed up in that suit and doing that smart-ass interview she's got, leading some of the top heel girls. The phrase top heel girls apparently didn't register with whoever when they took this idea and ran with it. And Candy is so emaciated when she hits the ropes, they don't bend. Have you noticed that?
I didn't notice too much about any of this match, no.
Exactly. So here comes the best part of the program. JBL has showed up in his limousine with his horns and his license plate, and out he comes to the ring, and he gets a big response because, you know, he's a Hall of Famer and blah, blah, blah.
Whose suit was he wearing?
I think it must have been Kurgan's suit that Howard Brody had cleaned and forgot to return to him. I don't know what, maybe something needed to be altered and they mixed some, I don't know what happened there. Because JBL's a successful guy and he doesn't have to work another day in his life. He's got plenty of money. He can afford a custom tailored suit. This wasn't it. Maybe since he's been a wrestling gimmick that he's just been working out or something. And he's lost weight and you know, he just looked a little, whatever the case. Anyway.
Some people thought he may have become a big fan of the Talking Heads.
Stop making sense. Anyway, so this, again, he acknowledged the people's cheers and etc., and then went right into the best heel promo, the most natural. He's got the personality, the delivery, the material. It was all off top of his head because he buried Oklahoma and praised Texas. Like if you know anybody from Oklahoma and Texas, that's all they do. The Briscoes and the Funks, get them in the same room, or fucking JR and goddamn anybody. And this was fucking brilliant. He looks like, except for the suit, he looks like a star. He comes off like he's a great personality. And then he makes a big announcement. He has brought a superstar to Raw, and here comes Baron Corbin. And I'm like, what in the... JBL is a great promo, but can even he get Baron Corbin over? But it's not Happy Corbin anymore. They're trying. It's Baron Corbin. And we've got to figure out, were we even watching? We were watching the show right as they were turning him into homeless Corbin, and then he became Happy Corbin. But did we ever just actually see a Baron? And before that, he was the Possum King.
That's
King
right.
Corbin.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Have we ever just seen Baron Corbin try to be serious?
I've seen him as Baron Corbin going back to NXT. I don't know how much of that you would have seen.
Well, anyway.
Because originally he was a serious guy. You know, originally he was, you know, because he's a tall guy. They kind of made him a killer in NXT. And then Vince got a hold of him.
And his gear still looks horrendous. I don't know what the fuck, because he's so hairless. He looks like some kind of mole creature that lives underground and has no hair, and it just, I don't know, but his gear looks horrendous, which accentuates the paleness and lack of features he has. There's no, I don't know. He seems to have lost weight. He's tried to get in better shape, maybe. His work, some of it looked okay. He did a head palm shoot off. But he threw a nice punch. I don't know. His physical appearance to me is odd and off-putting. I don't know how to explain it. But it was a long match with Dolph Ziggler that he won, and kind of flat with his finish. But the best thing was JBL's color. At one point, the new announcer, Kevin Patrick, the fellow from Ireland or Scotland or somewhere over there.
He's very nice.
He's very, very, very chipper chap.
Corey Graves is all like this, and the other guy just wants to tell you what's going on.
And Bradshaw said, Kevin, I don't know who hired you, but it's like losing 5 good men. Oh, fuck, that was great.
That's a good line.
And then, you know, when they started talking about, well, so-and-so has the experience and he did this and that, and it's like, I've been waiting for somebody to say this, and Bradshaw did. When these guys brag about, well, I've been in the independents for 10 or 15 years. He said, yeah, you spent 10 years in the independents. You were stuck in the minor leagues. You're playing single A ball. What the hell? That's not something to brag about. Anyway, by the time this match was over, we were an hour and 40 minutes into this television program. And then, remember AJ Styles had challenged Dominic Mysterio. So now here comes AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson and Dominic and Rhea and Priest and Balor. The same group of visitors that we spent the first half hour of the program with have come back. That's like you spend the evening with the next door neighbors. They leave. You're just tidying up and getting ready to take your pants off and sit in your underwear and put your hand down your crotch, and they're knocking on the door to come back in and visit some more.
This was the part of the show that drove me off. I didn't come back after this segment.
I'll say this. The Judgment Day looks great together. They need somebody interesting to work with now. And finally, Dominic won this match. They had and Dominic he doesn't suck. He'd be upper echelon in AEW. Physically, he doesn't suck. We've mentioned he looked a little childish, and they're trying to age him a little bit. I bet Rio make him grow up real fast. But finally, Dominic won with a roll-up after the other guys had gotten an argument on the floor. Rhea grabs AJ's leg. He turns around and looks at her, and Dominic rolls him up 1, 2, 3. So that was kind of flattered in a plate full of piss, but got the point across. And when you tuned out, did you come back for the big, long-awaited grudge match between The Miz and Dexter Lumis?
No, when I tuned out, I did not come back. That's what happens. Sometimes when you put bad shit on a show, it makes people say, you know what? I've given up for the night.
Well, let me tell you what you missed. Because all night long, Miz had been selling a slip and fall, like fucking Better Call Saul, so that he doesn't have to wrestle Dexter Lumis in this match they've got, because he's scared of Dexter Lumis.
Well,
but I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to jump in because we didn't talk about this throughout the entire show so far. This was another one of the things that actually drove me off was Gargano all over this fucking show doing skits in the back.
Yes. Because Miz, again, was selling the slip and fall. Oh, my knee's bad. I'm hurt. Do the surgery now. I can't wrestle tonight. Oh my God, what's going to become of me? And at one point, old Johnny Sameface just comes into the trainer's room and yells, "Hey, there's Dexter Lumis!" And fucking Miz just jumps up on his feet like nothing's wrong. And then all night, you see them, the two poster boys for we're going to push these motherfuckers regardless that they have no fucking look, charisma, talent, ability, personality, but we're going to fucking shove them down your throat. Miz, the previous generation, Johnny Sameface, the current generation. They're talking to each other all night. And then finally, Lumis comes out. He does his entrance. He comes out. They don't have a stage. He's just in front of the big screen. And suddenly, from behind comes The Miz with a chair and hits Lumis 3 times with the chair. And Lumis goes down, and then Miz hits the floor next to Lumis 5 more times. I think even Mick Foley tweeted, a lot of daylight in those chair shots. He was actually just hitting the floor on the other side of Lumis with the top of the chair, and the annoying camera zoom in and out was supposed to cover it, but it didn't. And then he did the worst, sloppiest Dennis Condrey facebuster that he stole from Dennis ever on the chair to Lumis, and then that was it. That's that match. So there you go. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, and I guess maybe also Rollins and Ali. I was going to say, other than Lashley and Lesnar, is every feud on Raw with someone who was in Triple H's NXT versus someone who wasn't?
Possibly.
All right.
You know who else is back?
No.
Do you remember Ezekiel and his brother Elrod?
And the brother Elias, of course.
Well, he was gone. We were seeing Ezekiel and then Elrod. Well, Elias is back. The lights are dimmed. They come up on the ring, and there is Elias in the ring. And he says, "You can't imagine how glad I am to be back." Little double entendre there. And he comments on, unfortunately, his younger brother's career was cut tragically short. Kind of few snickers. And again, it's bad gimmick rehab. They have put themselves into, well, Vince put them into position where they're actually having to come out and basically in their own way apologize to people and say, no, we're not going to do this anymore. Here, we're back to the way it's supposed to be. We're sorry for the jarring and disconcerting weeks we put you through where you didn't understand what the fuck was going on.
Bobby Ewing in the shower. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing. But nevertheless, as soon as he starts, here comes Matt Riddle. And I'm saying, oh my God, now wait a minute. I thought Elias was supposed to be a babyface. But apparently they believe that Matt Riddle is so popular that he'll give poor Elias, who's been out there exposed like an idiot as Ezekiel and Elrod, that he'll give Elias a little rub because Riddle's so popular. So they have them do some comedic banter and interplay because Riddle has brought bongos out. Now, Elias is in the ring. By the way, I'm sure he would have been back quicker, but he had to actually grow a beard. He couldn't just fucking come back and kick the shit out of somebody else and say, fuck it, I'm not doing that anymore. He had to grow a beard before he could be Elias. So Elias is in front of keyboards and he's got guitars leaned up, and Riddle brings out some bongos and wants to play with him. So you want to hit my bong, bro? That's not a double entendre. It was just specifically to make Riddle sound like a stoner, but there was no witticism there because it's a bongo, not a bong. Anyway, so they did this comedic interplay where Elias promised Riddle that sometime they could play together, and that pleased Riddle and warmed the cockles of his heart. And so he just sat there cross-legged in the ring and watched Elias as Elias started on the keyboard to play a new song that he's written. Now, this is where I was hoping, Brian, that you had hung in there, because I've listened to a lot of music, but I've never played any nor written any. So I'm sort of in the position that Tony Khan is in as a wrestling booker. I've watched it on TV, but I never actually did it. So I was hoping you could tell me whether Elias, because he did a better job than I could do playing the keyboard. Because I can't play the keyboard. The only musical instrument I can play is the radio. But I was hoping you would be able to tell me whether he actually did a good job at it for anybody or just a good job for somebody that can't do it at all. Because it wasn't, I didn't get the Liberace, Elton John in the early 70s, fucking Jerry Lee Lewis kind of vibe from him on the keyboard.
Did you get a Gene Okerlund kind of vibe from him on the keyboard?
No, not even a Tutti Frutti kind of thing. But he's playing the keyboard, and guess who comes out?
Who comes out after Riddle already came out?
Yes.
I don't know.
Seth Franklin Rollins.
Oh, no.
Because Seth Franklin Rollins is in the main event that they're going to flow right into for the U.S. title with Matt Riddle. So as Seth Franklin Rollins comes out, well, again, then it's time for Elias to go, and they go to break, and they come back, and now Riddle's still there. And have we not seen this match like 8 fucking times recently?
Yeah, they just had a feud.
Well, they're still pissed. Nothing's been settled. So Elias went down to ringside. By the way, I should say he did stick around. He didn't just leave, but he acquiesced and gave up his status in the ring for all of this. So they have this match. And by the way, Patrick, the new announcer, has noted that the United States title was first won by Harley Race in 1975. So they're using, I guess they have been, the Greensboro lineage for the United States title because they absorbed it from WCW, right?
Be more fitting if they used the Sheik lineage.
That would be funny, but here's where I was going with this. Okay, if they're using the Greensboro lineage for the Crockett United States title, Harley Race won the tournament in the Greensboro Coliseum in 1975, right? We know that much. So that's the lineage they're using. Do you know who else's careers that United States title that was first won by Harley Race in Greensboro in 1975, whose careers it has helped launch?
Oh, Ric Flair, Rick Steamboat. I mean, just those are the first two in the 70s I can think of.
Okay, well, according to Patrick, it was Ric Flair, Steve Austin, and John Cena.
Really?
Tell me when Steve Austin would have ever been the United States champion.
In 1994?
Thought he was the TV champion.
He was the TV champion first when he got there. He had a feud with Wyndham. He had some great matches with Barry Windham on TV, out of nowhere, 2 out of 3 Falls matches. And then in 94, he feuded with Steamboat. I think that was over the U.S. title.
So it did launch his career. It launched him right out the door of WCW. He was fired right after he was the U.S. champion.
It launched his career in the sense that he had already been a champion, been in the Dangerous Alliance, and been in the Hollywood Blondes. Other than that, It launched his career.
So anyway, in this match, finally, both Riddle and Rollins were down, and Seth rolls out to the floor where Elias is standing there awkwardly. Because now, here's what they've done. as both guys in the match are down and Seth rolls out on the floor to try to get some space and recuperate. But now the floor camera is framing Seth and Elias in the picture, even though Elias is just standing there and hadn't done anything and hadn't been referred to by Seth or whatever at that point. When they frame both the guys in the picture, you know something's going to happen between them, right? And of course, guess what? After a while, they just stood there. And as I said, poor Elias stood there awkwardly. And then Seth is saying, hit me, hit me. So he's asking Elias, this big, giant, 260-pound fucking guy standing next to him, to punch him in the face so that he can get disqualified against Matt Riddle, who was at that point laying on his face in the fucking ring, selling. Okay, hit me, but Elias won't hit him. So then fucking Seth Franklin Rollins says, well, fuck you then, and he super kicks Elias. Boom. And at that point, he goes back in the ring, but Riddle takes back over. And he starts doing some shit to Seth Franklin Rollins. But then finally, Riddle goes for the RKO. But just at this point, Elias has got up from that one super kick about 45 seconds ago. And he comes in the ring to kick the shit out of Seth Franklin Rollins. And Seth Franklin Rollins pushes Matt Riddle into Elias. Boom, and they collide. And then he hits Riddle with the curb stomp, 1, 2, 3. And then he curb stomps Elias. And then he goes to curb stomp Matt Riddle again. And guess who shows up, Brian?
Who shows up to save Matt Riddle from Seth Rollins?
Who shows up to save both Matt Riddle and Elias from
Seth Franklin Rollins.
Seth Franklin Rollins.
Who have we not seen on the show this? It wouldn't be a main eventer like Roman Reigns. I'm not sure.
Mustafa Ali.
Oh, that's a surprise.
The same guy that got the shit kicked out of him earlier came back out, and this time he kicked the shit out of Seth Franklin Rollins, and Seth ran through the crowd away from ringside to get away from the vengeful clutches of Mustafa Ali. So they're going to try to get this guy over in a top spot. He's running off Seth Rollins. And this, again, what the fuck? He's 6 inches shorter, 30 pounds lighter, and he was dressed like he was delivering newspapers for his fucking kid. There you go.
That's a surprise. I mean, I understand gimmick rehab and a lot of that's happening right now, but have people seen him as a main eventer? Again, I haven't followed his career, Mustafa Ali, too closely. Do people see him as a main eventer?
Well, I mean, somebody sees somebody somewhere as a main eventer, no matter who they are. The question is, how many? And I would say that the odds are pretty good that that's a small number.
Well, that was Raw as it gets.
It sure was.